now, okay?
Yeah, okay. I'll just make the information here. Basically, this meeting is recorded for broadcast by the authority's website. Everyone who joins the meeting, you're consenting themselves. That's basically it for the situation. So, if you'd like to go, Karen, any reason?
Yes, when you're ready, we are recording.
Fair enough. We'll start off with the first item of the agenda. Is apologies for absence.
Yeah, it's Justine Jones, Councillor Michelle Jones, and Anthony Lewis in education.
Okay, thank you very much. This, item 2, any declarations of interest? Very rarely have a declaration of interest within our meetings. So, okay, if that's okay, we'll move on to item 3, which are membership updates. So, are we looking for any updates, Angela? Anyone knows any updates?
I was just discussing with Karen. I don't think we've had any updates with regards to membership. No applications to come on to SACRE. Karen, I don't know if there's anybody who has resigned since the last meeting in December.
No, the last one was Andy Pitt, which I think that was advised in the last meeting, but no, nobody else at the moment. But we do need, I did say when I spoke to Angela earlier, I would speak to Anthony Lewis in education because we are running a bit thin on the ground with the teachers associations. So I would speak to Anthony to see if he can put the word out if anyone would be interested in joining us.
Okay, so that's about nothing else on item 4. So we move on to item 5, which is the update of plans. No, sorry, wrong one. Item 4, minutes from previous meetings on the 7th of December. I've got the minutes in front of me. I'll take them one by one. Pages, I don't, there's pages 1, 2, and 3. There are 3 pages of the meetings. Are anyone any items of they wish to speak on the meetings? Are everybody happy? So if everybody's happy with any meetings of the SACRE meeting on the 7th of December, would anyone agree the meetings for the next for the meetings of the 7th of December? Everybody happy? Thank you, Mark. And David, thank you very much. That's moved and seconded. Are we all happy to accept the meeting? Everybody happy? Are there any items you wish to discuss on the meetings? Everybody happy with the minutes? In which case we'll move on to item 5, which are the update of plans for examinations in 2021.
Shall I lead on this one? So the examinations for 2021 are going to be centre determined grades. So the directives are coming from Welsh Government, not from WJEC. The evidence that schools need to collate for the centre determined grades is very much up to each centre, and schools will be doing it in very different ways. So schools can decide how many lessons they're going to give over to assessments, whether they're going to use pre-existing work that children have already done as part of their evidence. It's entirely up to centres whether or not they do that, and there will be different stipulations according to which school or college is in question. Pupils are going to be told a provisional grade in June, and all appeals at this moment are intended to go directly to schools, not to the WJC. After the appeals process, grades will be sent to the WJC, and the WJC will have a role in awarding those grades. It's not clear at the moment what role they're going to have in moderating the grades that are submitted by schools. There is guidance and support from WJC, and that is their role to guide and support schools. There are one-stop shops on their websites that have past papers, broad grade descriptors for grades, I think A, C, and E, for A level, AS level, and GCSE, which are designed to help teachers to recognise features of pupils' work that should be at those grade levels and determine a best fit. There is just looking at my notes here. I'm trying to go without paper where I can. So teachers can really and truly have a lot of autonomy in designing their own assessment model, and only learners that are going to be awarded their certificate for their qualification will actually get the grades that they are awarded this year. So if a pupil in year 10 is doing the first year of GCSE, they can have a centre design grade, but they will not be awarded that grade until they do the other half of the GCSE next year, and same for AS going into A level. It's only when they are cashing in that grade that will that centre determined grade stand. So I think there's a lot there on teachers and on schools and school leaders. I think it's quite a difficult situation that lots of teachers find themselves in. It's very personal, awarding grades and so on. And I know lots of schools have gone down the road of blind marking and marking cohorts of papers of pupils that they haven't taught themselves and so on. There's all different ways that schools are managing the challenges of the centre determined grades. I don't know if any of our teachers have any kind of insight here that they'd like to share with SACRE on their experiences.
Okay, so thank you very much, Angela. Are there anyone have any questions for Angela? Everybody happy? Okay, well, thank you very much, Angela. Thank you very much. If there are no questions for item 5, we move on to item 6, which is the SACRE meetings, businesses. Okay,
so so I attended SACRE on the 23rd on behalf of SACRE and my other SACREs. There was a very lengthy discussion around the qualifications Wales consultation, and we're going to come to that later on in our agenda today. We were informed that there's going to be a relaunch of the SACRE website. It's going to be updated and made more user friendly, and hopefully more there will be more reference to current developments and clearer ways of accessing annual reports and so on the newly designed website. So more on that will follow shortly. There were several discussions around the developments with Welsh Government, and we do have now a draft RVE guidance framework, which will hopefully be discussed later in our meeting confidentially, perhaps. And the intention is that this will be looked at for public consultation in May, and it will be published as part of the new curriculum for Wales by December 2021, which means that we will need to start thinking about agreed syllabus conferences and so on to make sure that we have a syllabus that reflects the position of RVE in the new curriculum. So the Education Wales Bill has passed. Religious education will be known as religion, values and ethics. The right to withdraw will be removed, and it will be part of the humanities area of learning and experience. There were several updates that were given by the various local authorities and organisations that were represented at WASACRE. And as soon as we have the draft minutes from the meeting, they'll be circulated to members. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for me about WASACRE.
Thank you very much, Angela. Are there any questions for Angela? Are we happy there? So, oh, David. Yes, please.
Angela, what was the conversation like on the change of the curriculum? Was there any dissent, or did everybody agree with the position of it? You know,
I think a lot of the dissent had already happened in previous meetings. I think the only thing that really came up was there was still some consternation around the name Religion, Values and Ethics, but we hadn't been able to convince Welsh Government that perhaps that wasn't the name that many people at WASACRE would have been happy with. Yeah, so there wasn't really any contention. It was more of an update on what's happening and where we are and how we can move forward.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Ernie, I'll just ask one.
Yes, Ian.
What strikes me about this is, I think one of the biggest problems that they're going to have is removing the right to withdraw. Even though the syllabus has changed, the perception amongst some families, particularly where there are strong religious beliefs, I think may still be that they don't want their children to go. And I think they could be held very strongly and it could cause problems. And I just wonder whether they could bring it in a bit more gradually somehow. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure there are plenty items on the meeting we can take up with. I think there is a big problem myself. I really think there is one, and I believe in the consultations of the qualifications for SACRE, and for the extra item on the religion, values and ethics guidance. I'm sure we can discuss it on that, Ian.
Yeah, okay.
But I think there is a big problem personally. But there we are. We will see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions at this item, please? Because if not, we move on to item 7, which are updates of reporting RE and collective worship in the new normal. Anyone updates for us on?
Just to say that at last SACRE meeting in December, we agreed that we would send a letter out to all schools just to remind them of their duty, their continuing duty, even in the circumstances, to make sure that the pupils' entitlement to collective worship and to RE continues to be met. And we also signposted teachers to a range of resources from a number of trusted partners, some of them, and providers from across a whole scope of different organisations, and that was for collective worship as well as for RE and throughout the key stages as well. We did ask that teachers could get in touch with us, perhaps to let us know if they'd been engaged in any really good practice that they could share, so that we could make further recommendations. Across the 5 SACREs, I only heard back from one teacher that it was just a letter of thanks. I think teachers are just incredibly busy under a lot of pressure and strain at the moment, so I wasn't really expecting a huge response there, but I think the one response that we did get in another authority does go to show that any support that we provide will be greatly appreciated. Following on from that, I did ask SACRE members to suggest anybody who could speak from a faith and belief perspective, perhaps on Zoom or Teams to schools, or offer virtual place of worship tours and so on. And a couple of suggestions did come through, and those have been forwarded to schools as well. So we really are trying to do our best to support schools. I'll have another trawl through resources as well and have a look and see if there's anything further out there that we can add to support schools. I think that the thing that we would really like to be able to support schools with is the centre determined grades, but at the moment we're not in a position to be able to do that. But we are helping schools out whenever we can, and there is that openness for schools to communicate with us if they want to. So I think that's quite good.
Yeah, Mark.
Oh, sorry, I don't normally work on Teams, so I can't find my unmute button. Yeah, I got to say, in this area, the schools were brilliant in their response when we offered stuff that we were putting out there, which could be accessed via our YouTube channel and things like that. There was a really positive response. I know myself and my colleagues have been cautious, exactly for what you were saying there, Angela, for actually not bombarding them with telephone calls, etc. We think that they've got absolutely enough on their hands. I wonder how you would respond, and I know we've got a couple of lovely teachers on here as well, is that if we feel that sort of in the middle of the next half term that we started talking to you again about whether you would want to come in, if you think that would be appropriate. Certainly at my level, I'll have had me 2 jabs and all the rest of it by then, because I'm that old. No, I didn't say that. But I just, it's that thing at the moment, and we have been very isolated, and it's not wanting to increase pressure on anybody, but just saying if we can be of help, that we're here. But it's knowing the right time to go in, to sort of not find a dear head teacher or other staff, really up to their neck and go, oh no, not him again, oh for goodness sake, that sort of thing. So a balance there. Thanks. Okay.
Well, thank you, Mark. Any other questions or any thoughts from anybody? Yeah, I got to say that the advice we had, the SACRE advice, I think it was really good, to be honest. I went through it a few times, and I really thought there was plenty of good information there for people to use. I've had no sort of big issue with it at the moment. Any other questions on it, anybody? Or Leanne?
Yeah, it's just in response to Mark. It is. I know touching base with schools it would be a really nice kind of idea. But I would suggest, just on a personal note, is that I am absolutely dreading the return after Easter, and the huge, massive work that's going to be going on with Year 11. But I certainly think into June, July, teachers would really appreciate a touch base, because that's the kind of time when things will start to go that way. And so hopefully we can kind of get to grips with a bit more of that past the sort of assessment stage.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other contributions by anyone? If not, well, thank you all very much for the discussions. At that point, we move on to item 8, qualifications Wales consultation on item 8. Yeah. So that's the information we have. So anyone wishes to start or continue with it on item 8?
Would it be helpful for me to just give an overview?
Yeah, carry on, Angela. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the Qualifications Wales consultation is open now until the 9th of April. So luckily we have this meeting where we can have a little bit of a discussion, and it might be that we decide to submit a response from SACRE, even if it's a response that we can't all agree on. We can represent a range of opinions. There's enough scope for free format writing on this particular consultation to enable us to do that. With the papers, I sent some guidance notes, some ideas. My personal view, as an advisor, my view to you as your advisor for RE is that it could be quite a good opportunity here to secure the position of religion, values and ethics in the school curriculum, because there are a number of concerns, as already being discussed today, around right to withdraw. There's also the challenge of subsidiarity in some schools, as well as RVE going to be possibly taught in an integrated way with a lot of other subjects in the humanities area of learning and experience, which will and won't happen in some schools. So I see this consultation as an opportunity to put forward quite a strong voice and quite a strong argument to really secure a place for religion, values and ethics at Key Stage 4 in the form of some sort of recognition of pupils' study at GCSE level qualification. My view is that we shouldn't be arguing that all pupils across the land will do a full course in religious studies, but I think we can reasonably argue that that a GCSE that combines one humanity subject with religious studies, or RVE if they want to call it RVE, might be a good option for the majority of students who can access learning at that level. So that would be my way of looking at it. So what's already been decided is that GCSE is going to remain. So the qualifications are going to, at 16, are going to be called GCSE qualifications. And what's on the table here really is how those qualifications are going to work, what subjects there are going to be offered within the suite of qualifications, and how those qualifications are going to be assessed. So will they still be assessed by examination, or through a combination of examination and controlled assessments, and so on and so forth. So I think at this stage, Qualifications Wales are looking for ideas from individuals and organisations who have an interest in education in Wales. And I think what we really need to keep in mind is that we need to secure a place for RE at Key Stage 4, and make sure that GCSEs can go some way to help ensure compliance with statutory duties to deliver RVE at Key Stage 4, and we should also be thinking about how we can really argue that the qualification has enough accessibility to meet the needs of most learners, and also enough rigour and challenge to put learners in Wales on an equal footing with learners in England who are going to be doing a GCSE that's pretty much like the one we have now in Wales. We need to bear in mind that A levels aren't going to be changing, so A levels are still going to be quite discipline specific. So there'll be A levels in RS and history and so on. There won't be a humanities A level, and the A levels will be as challenging as they are now. So I think an important part of the GCSE will be preparing those students who wish to go on to the next level of education for the challenge and rigour that they will meet there. So I've said rather a lot. I've talked a lot. So I don't know if anybody has got any comments on questions on what I've said so far, and then we might look at the three questions that are related to RVE and see if we can come up with a response, perhaps.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Are there any questions or responses? Everybody happy? Are you okay, Mark? I thought you.
Sorry,
you're in, Mark.
Sorry, Ernie. Yeah, no, I think that the points that Angela's making, the ones that she's written here, are really, really important for us to be stressing. That, as you read through the document, you just get this feeling that RVE is disappearing, is being swallowed up. And I think the defense of that is really important. Anyway, of itself is important, but I feel that the point that you made is perhaps, for me, certainly one of the strongest, that unless a student has some grounding, some basis in RVE, how are you going to even consider taking that on at A level? I know that there are some very unusual A levels out there now, but they at least tie back to some discipline that you've learnt in your GCSE years. And I just have a feeling that one of my great fears that this committee will have known through the, unfortunately, quite a few years that I've been here, is that in one way, the whole process was a way of losing the religious, and I do want that to be seen not just as a Christian religious, but the whole religious aspect of qualifications. So thank you very much indeed for the comments that you've made, and I feel very strongly that you are, in each time, Angela, where you've made the comments, pointing out that there are concerns going on into the future, that some of these statements feel, I think the word you use is, if I'm misquoting you, I apologize, innocuous as it stands, or not feeling quite threatening. However, as that journeys through, then we could find that the interpretation means that RVE completely disappears out of the humanities, and so-called more exciting subjects take precedence. And for somebody who studied the queen of the sciences, as the religion used to be, I object most strongly to that. But thank you for your comments, Angela. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any further contributions or questions? Everybody's happy? Okay. Any further, Angela, or you happy to carry on?
Should we have a look, Chair, at the questions and see how committee feels we should respond? I mean, do we feel that we should put together a response from SACRE, because people can choose to respond individually, and I would recommend that everybody puts in their own individual response as well.
Okay, that would be the best way of dealing with it. What do you think, Ange?
I'm more than happy to advise what I feel we should say regarding the three questions, and then to submit a response on the comments that are minuted in the meeting for SACRE, if members are happy for us to do that.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody happy?
Yeah.
I'm sure, do they take any notice of any responses? That's, I'm quite happy to write in, but is there any notice taken of the responses that we give? I'm sure you would give us honest answer, as you always do. So that's my question to you.
Responses will be taken into consideration. A response from an organisation such as SACRE will carry the same weight as response from an individual member of the public. So in a way, it can be more powerful for individual members of SACRE to respond, rather than just putting forward a committee response. So I think it's important to do both.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. Any other further questions? If not, we move on to the next item.
Chair, should we have a look at each of the questions?
Yeah, yeah. I got to be honest. I'm trying to find the actual questions, to be honest.
I can lead us through that. It's no problem.
Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
So it's on page 11 of the document that we had sent out. It's on page 11, Ernie. That's for the first question. Thanks.
Yeah. So the first question asks us how far we agree or disagree with the proposal to reform GCSEs in business, geography, history and religious studies. For us, we're only concerned with religious studies. So my advice would be to check the neither agree nor disagree boxes, or circles as they are, for the three other subjects. I would advise to tend to disagree or disagree strongly with this proposal for religious studies, based on the fact that we don't really know enough about what reform will mean. So I would say that we recognise that the new curriculum will be a time for thinking about how qualifications at 16 will work, and there will need to be a review. But we cannot agree with reform when we don't know what nature the reform will take. I don't know what people think of that response, whether they're happy with it. There is a leaning within the wording of the consultation to suggest that moving towards a skills-based GCSE in RS, and I think we would need to really think about how that might work, what skills were being assessed. And I would say that the assessment objectives for GCSE are already skills-based, but they rely on rich knowledge in order to demonstrate those skills.
Okay. Any further comments on people?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Angela has just said. As we say, we don't know anything about the first three, but we don't know enough about reform. Angela, obviously we've had a confidential paper through, but I believe, very sorry, I think that came through either yesterday or today, and I haven't had a chance to really read that. Is that more about reform that we should be looking at? Do you mind me asking at this point? Sorry.
It doesn't relate specifically to qualifications, so I would say that we can take that we can consider this consultation without reference to the confidential paper.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ernie, can I comment, please?
Yeah, carry on, Ian.
I'd just like to say that, yes, I agree with Angela's comments, but the one thing that Angela said earlier makes me a bit dismayed, is that a response coming from SACRE would have roughly the same weight as a response coming from an individual. It makes you wonder what's the point of having people getting together in these committees if that's the case. So
Yeah.
I was a bit disappointed if that is the case,
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Ian. I think, did Anne want to come through, Anne Starr?
I was going to ask a question, but it's just been answered, so that's fine. So I lowered my hand then.
Okay. Anything further, anyone? Everybody happy? I was agreeing with Angela's comments earlier. I got no problem with that. Any further questions? Conclusions? Okay. Are we everybody happy to continue? Everybody happy? Okay, thank you very much, Angela.
Okay, so question 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so question 2 is how far do we agree or disagree with the proposal to create a new GCSE in social studies, if feasible? I would say on this one that we neither agree nor disagree, but my understanding of a social studies qualification is that it would be an amalgam of sociology and psychology. I think that we should just caveat our response to say that we don't believe that it would be in the interests of religion, values and ethics, /RS, to be part of a subject that was already an amalgam of two things.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very happy to say I've now found my questions. Sorry for that, folks. Any further? Anyone has a question or comment on question 2? Yeah, Leanne. Yeah, if you could.
Just quickly, within terms of the social studies qualification, are they looking at the development of that alongside the religious studies remaining, with the social studies becoming something else that may include some religion-based? I don't really understand.
It's all up for grabs at the moment, Leanne. So that's what the purpose of the consultation is to get people's view on what they think is the best in terms of what to offer for a suite of qualifications at 16.
Okay.
Any other member wishes to speak? Everybody happy? Okay. Personally, I would neither agree nor disagree on this particular question, to be honest.
Okay.
It's a matter for everybody else.
Yeah, I would say so.
And if that's the case, with the third question then, how do we agree or disagree with our proposal to create a new integrated GCSE in humanities, if feasible?
Well,
Question.
yeah, I don't know how other people feel about this before.
I think this really all depends on the availability of all elements. I think if we are saying that these kids have a greater choice, and that if we remove ourselves from, say, the humanities experience as well, then and only offer RE as RE, I think we lose something as well. I think for some of our children that they need the scope of all the subjects. As much as I love RE, and I would sooner them all take RE as it stands, I think if we say absolutely no way, I don't want to be a part of social studies, or we don't want to be a part of humanities, and we only want to offer RE, we are going to lose some kids who aren't going to engage at all. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there needs to be a bit of a balance. We need to know, is RE going to be offered as a sensible and attractive and an imaginative qualification that kids are going to be enthralled by, but are we also going to have the opportunity to be a part of these other things as well? And if RE isn't going to be offered and subsequently we're just offering humanities, then no, I don't think we should be a part of humanities to the detriment of RE. I think, but I think if they're offering all three, I think that RE needs to be at the forefront of all of them. But for me as a teacher, what I've noticed over the years, and it's not just for RE, we're talking geography, the standard traditional subjects, the kids are not as engaged as they used to be. They are not, they're enthralled by this idea of a new subject, new psychology or new sociology. And we need to get that kind of thing going back into our GCSE qualification for our kids. RE needs to be something that excites them again. And I feel like we've lost that a little bit at the moment. Sorry.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Any further questions or comments? Mark?
Yeah, sorry, I do seem to be feeling like I'm hogging a bit here.
You carry on, Mark, no problem.
No. I'm just slightly confused, Angela, and not in, hopefully not in a bad way, but did I not go on lots of training courses sort of 2 years back now with Paula and people like that, where we were organising for religious education to be part of the humanities block, and there was a lot of work done on the wording there. Has that now all come up for grabs again? Sorry, so that's a simple way of asking that. Thank you.
Well, religion, values and ethics, as it's going to be called, is going to be part of the humanities area of learning and experience. And this particular consultation is asking whether it's appropriate to have a qualification that is broad-based in humanities. So my feeling is that what Leanne says is absolutely correct. Pupils are very much attracted by a new subject. I think social studies, GCSE would probably be very popular. I think that we need to keep in mind that there was a GCSE in humanities, a very broad-based GCSE in humanities that was discontinued when the reforms happened in 2016. It was deemed not fit for purpose because it lacked depth and rigour. So I would err on the side of caution of not including too many different disciplines within one GCSE, because I think that it would present problems in terms of staffing, in schools, for instance, are there going to be teachers who are sufficiently qualified in a range of different humanities disciplines to be able to teach them at GCSE level? Inevitably, if you've got a course that is structured on 120 to 140 guided learning hours, and you're trying to cover 4 or 5 different disciplines within those guided learning hours, then you're necessarily going to be sacrificing some depth and rigor for breadth. I'm not against the idea of combining maybe 2 humanities subjects into 1 qualification so that pupils can have choice. I think with RVE being the only compulsory subject within its area of learning and experience, and with the Minister making a commitment to ensuring full access to the curriculum by removing the right to withdraw, there could be an argument to say that the majority of students in Wales should have the opportunity to study RVE as a substantial part of a GCSE qualification. That would be something that I would be inclined to argue for.
Thank you, Angela. Anne wishes to speak.
Just to say that I agree with Angela about what she said about humanities. It was brought in with big fanfare. It wasn't popular, and it went. As she says, it can be too wide-ranging, and it doesn't cater for people with an interest in history or geography or RE. It just becomes a sort of broad brush thing without enough depth, and doesn't work. So I would agree with Angela's comment there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Sian wishes to come through.
Yeah, Angela, I agree too. Just a query really, in a sense that I don't know how they propose this, because if RE is still statutory at Key Stage 4, how the statutory element of the RE would be kept if we are meant to teach it as a humanities. They have to have a lesson of RE a week, and so if the commitment is to teach the other elements as a Key Stage 4 subject, I'm not sure how much of the statutory RE would be there as well.
Yeah,
unless it's in addition.
Yeah, I think that's the danger, isn't it? If there isn't some form of meaningful qualification that's available to all learners who can access a GCSE level learning in RVE, then the danger is that it could be marginalised earlier on through the key stages, and that there might be non-compliance at Key Stage 4 as well. There isn't actually a requirement that there is an hour per week on the curriculum. It would be great if it was, but some schools might choose to deliver statutory RE at Key Stage 4 through a drop-down day once a term, perhaps, or even twice a year or once a year. And there's no way in law of challenging that, because there's no stipulation around what provision a school has to make. And I think that with subsidiarity, so schools designing their own curricula, and with the issue of integration with other subjects which can provide rich learning opportunities in RVE. There can also be a danger that other subjects might take precedence over RVE. Certainly in the secondary context, lots of settings have better resourced history and geography departments, perhaps, than RE departments. So there are all these issues that we need to take into consideration.
Okay. Thank you very much, Angela. Any further questions or any ideas? Anything further? Everybody seems quite happy here. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying, in terms of which box to check then, for the third question. I'm getting the sense that we would tend to disagree.
I was going to
just
say
because
that, yeah.
We
I
don't
was
we
just
don't
going to say
want
the
something
same
to
thing.
go. We don't want to you know, assent to something that wouldn't be in the interest of pupils, and I think we need to, you know, give a quite a detailed written response as to, you know, where our points of disagreement would be and what we might think could work.
Yeah, thank you very much, Angela. I quite agree with that, Angela. I'd certainly go along with that. If there's any further comment about Angela's, or are we going to carry on as we are? Everybody happy? So I think that's certainly tend to disagree on it. If everybody happy with that? If that's the case, is there anything further on that item? Because if not, we then move on to item 9, which is dates for future meetings, before we move on to the any other business. Do you should have a look at the meetings for summer, or are we going to leave it later? Any ideas from anyone?
Chair, it would be a good idea if we could confirm a date in this meeting, because it's given everyone an opportunity to check their diaries now, if that's
Okay,
possible.
yeah, that's fair enough. We look at the item 9. We'll take that after item 10, which means then before we go on to item 10, we then need to take on to we need to take on account 100, isn't it?
Yes, if I could butt in and just explain, Angela sent on, which I forwarded to you all, a document that needs to be considered confidentially. Now, the protocol for committee meetings will be that this meeting will end. We will then vote section 100. And if everyone agrees, then I can turn the recording off, and then we can consider and look at the document then in private. So if everyone's happy, we can vote for section 100.
Yeah. Everybody happy?
Yes.
Try to press your hand if you can, or just put your hand up, or.
Okay, that's fine.
I think that's agreed.
Yeah, okay then. So we can go into the private session, and I will knock the recording off.